Well, ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. Donald Trump is attacking Marjorie Taylor Greene. He is not happy with her. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very vocal the past couple of months in regards to the Epstein files, in regards to Israel, and more recently in regards to the economic situation here in the United States. Donald Trump has officially come out to remove his endorsement and support for Marjorie Taylor Greene. MAGA is crumbling. MAGA is falling apart. Let's take a look at some of the things that have happened over this past year that could possibly point to the reason as to why Donald Trump feels as though Marjorie Taylor Greene has become a traitor. A traitor, of course, if you disagree with Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form, you are seen as a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the warning that many of us were sounding about the cult of Donald Trump. One of those issues in particular has been Israel. Let's take a look back at what Marjorie Taylor Greene said to Tucker Carlson on his show about Israel and Christianity. Listen to this.
The whole propaganda machine that has been spoon-fed to Christians, whether it's in the pews at church or Bible study, or coming through the television or through their politicians' mouths, that we have to do everything for Israel. That's the only way we're going to go to heaven. America will be cursed if we don't. That whole lie is breaking apart. And thank God it is, because I, as a Christian, you as a Christian, we know there's only one way, and it's through Jesus Christ. He is our Savior. He died on a cross for us. He rose from the dead in 3 days. He is the one and only living Son of God, and he is seated at the right hand of the Father. And he's going to come again one day to judge the living and the dead. And that is the way you go to heaven. And that is the truth. And that is the light. And that is the only way that we should think and believe. And it doesn't come to bowing down to Israel, the government of Israel, or the military of Israel, or any politician. And the shaming that we have received, and the shaming that carries on, is actually what is destroying them, completely destroying them. It's destroying not only them, it's destroying the social media influencers that are taking money, that it is destroying everyone that gets sucked into this great deception. And that's what it is, Tucker. It is a great deception, but thank God people are waking up to it.
Yeah, it sounds like Marjorie Taylor Greene has been listening to some of us in independent media almost word for word. One of the things that I've been pushing back on is this rhetoric that Christians have to support Israel. I have been pretty pissed about this narrative that has been going around for years. And if you actually look at what the Bible says, I told you guys before, I grew up in the church. If you listen to what the Bible says, if you look at that, you will see that Israel is not a physical place. Israel is what Jesus said that he would refer to the followers of Abraham as. So I shall call you Israel because you are the followers of Abraham. And I told you guys, and I still stand by this, I think this is one of the biggest psyops of all time. This idea that you have to support this land for these Eastern Europeans to move to, and to, of course, exterminate the Palestinian people in order to go to heaven. It's absolutely ridiculous. I will be doing a deep dive into that and the rapture as well, because we need to push back on that heavily. So she had already been critical before about the money being sent to Israel and supporting the wars. And also, she called out the genocide. But now you see she's going into the biblical approach. And of course, according to Donald Trump, that is going to be a problem for the evangelical Christians. So Israel is going to have a problem with that. But she's also been calling out the economic issues. As I told you before, I think she's been hearing from people in her district. Marjorie Taylor Greene is in one of the rural red districts, which I did warn you about, would be heavily impacted by cuts to Medicaid, SNAP, etc. Listen to this.
People can't afford health insurance. They can't afford car insurance. They can't afford rent. They can't afford to buy a house. Those are the problems we need to be fixing.
Yeah. So again, she's in one of those rural red districts that are impacted by these decisions that Donald Trump has made. You know, when we talk about SNAP and we talk about healthcare, those are things that impact a lot of people. it's not a blue state issue. I don't know why people believe that to begin with in the first place. But the red states, they have less funding. So whenever you have those policies that are going to be attacked in any way, shape, or form, the red states are going to be hit the hardest. They're the poorest states in the country. That's important for people to understand. So AOC had put out a video before saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene apparently wanted to run for a Senate seat and Donald Trump told her no. And so that Marjorie Taylor Greene is probably gearing up, or rumor has it, is gearing up to run for president. And this is kind of her revenge against Donald Trump. I could possibly see that happening, her trying to run for president in 2028. But the reality is that we are seeing that big split. Now, many of us started talking about this a couple of months ago when people said there's no split happening in MAGA. But we're seeing that divide become greater and greater. And it almost feels as though there seems to be a competition between who is really America first and who is not America first. And what Marjorie Taylor Greene is doing, it seems like she's putting herself out there in the front line. And she's saying, listen, I actually support America first. What Donald Trump is doing right now is not America first. So I think this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, especially considering Donald Trump is attacking her when she was one of his most, I would say, loyal supporters at this point in time. Remember when she was on the House floor and Donald Trump was trying to get everyone's attention when they were forcing the vote against McCarthy as speaker? She was the one trying to get their attention to show them Trump's on the line.
Right there. If you look close at that phone, it says DT at the top. That would be Donald Trump. She's trying to hand the phone there to Matt Rosendale, one of the holdouts from Montana. He didn't want to take the call because he didn't want the pressure from Donald Trump. Listen to Marjorie Taylor Greene describing her big role here.
He yelled at me on the House floor, telling me, don't you ever do this? I was so surprised I couldn't understand. I was holding out my phone saying, it's President Trump. He wants to speak with you. You know, President Trump endorsed, I think, all 20. He had talked to them, multiple of the 20 during the course of the week, urging them to vote for Kevin McCarthy for speaker.
Right there. If you look close at that.
Yeah, so she was one of his most loyal supporters. And remember, when it comes to force the vote for against McCarthy, remember Marjorie Taylor Greene did not choose to stick with that. She walked away from the caucus that was trying to force the vote and said, okay, well, this is what Trump wants us to do, so this is what I'm going to do. But it just goes to show you, it doesn't matter how loyal you have been to Donald Trump. You disagree with him on even one thing, and all of a sudden, like, he comes after you as though you're a criminal, right? So that's the cult mentality. That's the cult-like mentality. He is now calling her out on Fox News here.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not anyway. I mean, she is a very different thinking than I have. Something happened to her over the last period of a month or two where she changed, I think, politically. I think that her constituents aren't going to be happy. Already, I have people calling me. They want to challenge her to a race in her district in Georgia. And, you know, that's too bad. She's lost a wonderful conservative reputation. But when she says, don't go overseas, if I didn't go overseas, we might be in a war right now with China.
Yeah, this is not good. This is bad, 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 bad. And you know what? I'm looking at the comments on social media. A lot of people are not buying this from Donald Trump, right? So first and foremost, he said, if I don't go overseas, we might be in a war with China. That's false. That is false. I cannot say this enough. China is not trying to start a war with the United States. I don't know why people continue to fall for this. The U.S. government has been the aggressor for years. The U.S. government has been the aggressor for years. China is minding its own damn business. And this is more about a great empire that is crumbling, that is trying to hold on and maintain that power that it has over the world. That's what this is really about. China is rising. The United States is failing because we didn't take care of our people. We didn't take care of our infrastructure. It was more important for the U.S. government to start wars abroad and steal their resources and kill their people, overthrow their leaders, instead of focusing on people here. So you see, he is already calling her out and turning because she is not bending the knee. And he officially announced that he is removing his support. Here it is here. I am withdrawing my support and endorsement of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene of the great state of Georgia. She's going to face a primary challenge. It's coming. Over the past few weeks, despite my creating record achievements for our country, including a total complete victory on the shutdown, closed borders, low taxes, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, biggest regulation cuts in history, stopping 8 wars. Yeah, God, they're still lying about this. Rebuilding our military, being respected by every country in the world, as opposed to being the laughing stock that we were just 12 months ago, having trillions of dollars record setting invested in the USA. He is not invested in the USA, and having created the hottest country anywhere in the world from being a dead country just 12 months ago, and so much more. Notice there's nothing here about helping the American people. Notice there's nothing here about the economy. He says inflation, it's bullshit. Prices are still high. Prices are continuing to increase. Notice there's nothing of that. Nothing about a living wage, nothing about healthcare, nothing about infrastructure, things that actually matter to the American people that we need here in the United States. You don't see any of that. Let's continue on here. All I see wacky Marjorie do is complain, complain, complain. It seemed to all begin when I sent her a poll stating that she should not run for senator or governor. She was at 12% and didn't have a chance unless, of course, she had my endorsement, which she wasn't about to get. So why does he get to say so about whether or not she can run for senator or governor? This is the partisan control I was talking about. It's crazy, man, crazy. She has told many people that she is upset that I don't return her phone calls anymore. But with 219 congressmen and women, 53 US senators, 24 cabinet members, almost 200 countries, and otherwise normal life to lead, I can't take a ranting lunatic's call every day. See, now she's a lunatic because she's disagreeing with him on certain issues. I understand that wonderful conservative people are thinking about primarying Marjorie in her district of Georgia, that they're too fed up with her and her antics. And if the right person runs, they will have my complete unyielding support. She has gone far left. Here we go. Even doing The View with their low IQ Republican hating anchors. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Make America great again. And none of these things he mentions here actually makes America great. So you see what's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Now she's gone far left. She's radical. Anytime you don't support the cult of Donald Trump, it's all about him. He goes on to rant here. Brianna Morello shared this. Lightweight Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, green grass turns brown when it begins to rot. Betrayed the entire Republican Party when she turned left. Performed poorly on The Pathetic View and became the rhino that we all know she always was. Just another fake politician, no different than Rand Paul Jr., Thomas Massie, who got caught being a full-fledged Republican in name only. Make America great again. So this is just Jesus Christ. I sincerely hope more people are waking up and they're leaving this cult of Donald Trump, because that's what this really is. You can't go against him. You can't disagree with him. It's absolutely ridiculous. So he's waged a war on Thomas Massie. He's waged a war on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and all the other Republicans in the House and the Senate. They know this, so they just go along with these things, even if they may disagree with it, because they know what will happen to them if they disagree with Donald Trump, that he's going to have a primary challenge for them. This is absolutely insane. People need to rise up against this insanity. People need to rise up against this. This is absolutely gone crazy, crazy, crazy. Not that it wasn't crazy before, but this is at a level that I don't think I've ever seen. This is crazy. So Marjorie Taylor Greene did issue a response. President Trump just attacked me and lied about me. I haven't called him at all, but I did send those text messages today. These text messages today. Apparently, this is what I sent This is what sent him over the edge, the Epstein files. And of course, he is coming after me. And of course, he is coming after me after, I'm sorry, guys, I looked at this wrong. And of course, he's coming after me hard to make an example to scare all the other Republicans before next week's vote to release the Epstein files. It's astonishing, really, how hard he's fighting to stop the Epstein files from coming out, that he actually goes to this level. And to the point that I made, again, if there's nothing in there that is troubling or concerning for him, as we've already seen, these emails show that he lied about when he ended his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. If there's nothing troubling in there for him, he would have no problem with those Epstein files being released. But really, most Americans wish he would fight this hard to help the forgotten men and women of America who are fed up with foreign wars and foreign causes. Are going broke to feed their families and are losing hope of ever achieving the American dream. That's what I voted for. I've supported Trump with too much of my precious time, too much of my own money, and fought harder for him even when almost all other Republicans turned their back and denounced him. But I don't worship or serve Donald Trump. I worship God. Jesus is my savior, and I serve my district, Georgia 14, and the American people. I remain the same today as I've always been. And I will continue to pray this administration will be successful because the American people desperately deserve what they voted for. For me, I remain America first and America only. She is showing text here, one from Donald Trump. See, there's DJT. Check the flight logs of Epstein's plane. Bill Clinton is on there like 26 times, Hillary too. For many of us, releasing the Epstein files has always been for the women who were victims of Jeffrey Epstein, but also because we believe the Democrat bad guys like the Clintons were entangled and involved with him. Epstein has the spider that wove the web of the deep state. Lean into it. So notice how, again, the focus is on Democrats, right? Not any of the conservatives that Jeffrey Epstein also, engaged with, right? So again, like, he's trying to make it partisan. I can't say this enough. The Epstein files are not a partisan issue. Epstein was friends with Democrats and Republicans. He was friends with people that had money. That's basically how that goes. So it's insane here. And that says Donald J. Trump. Hold on here. Oh, wait a minute. Let me go back just to make sure. And she sent the text message. I just want to make sure. But I did send these text message today. Okay, sorry. So that's to Donald Trump. So I'm sorry. It sounds like she was sending that, asking him to lean into that as well. But again, like, this isn't a partisan issue. That same thing to Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not a partisan issue. So it sounds like she was telling Donald Trump to lean into that. And then here's a response from Natalie. In her phone, it says NH. I'll tell you who Natalie is in just a second. But the response here, Natalie is responding for Donald Trump, the Jeffrey Epstein hoax. In every single interview I have done, I have defended President Trump. Sorry, this is Marjorie Taylor Greene saying this to Natalie. Sorry, guys. But Natalie is responding. I guess she writes for Donald Trump. I'll show you that in just a second. So that's why Marjorie Taylor Greene is sending this message to Natalie. In every single interview I have done, I've defended President Trump. I've said over and over, the women say he did nothing wrong, and their attorney says he's the only one who helped. And the Democrats had 4 years to release the files, but did nothing. Stop ignoring the women. Many of them literally voted for President Trump and say so publicly. Them being sexually assaulted as teenagers is not a hoax. So that's Marjorie Taylor Greene, the text message that she sent to Natalie. And this is the text message that she sent to Donald Trump. I guess what she was trying to tell them is to also lean into the fact of the Clintons' involvement with Jeffrey Epstein. But again, you cannot make this a partisan thing. You cannot make it partisan. You have to make it a corruption issue. And when you're focusing on corruption, the partisan politics goes out the window. What Epstein did was criminal and corrupt. What the Clintons, what Trump and all of them did, these people are corrupt, and that should be the focus. We really need an anti-corruption party. We need an anti-corruption party, anti-war party. People were making jokes. Envy Blue Dog Dim says leak his number. And here's a little bit here about Natalie. Trump's human printer is somehow weirder than you thought. So that's what she was called, Natalie Harp. Remember Natalie Harp, Donald Trump's human printer? The New York Times previously reported that Harp is the incredibly devoted Trump aide whose job is out to print flattering articles about Trump and deliver them to him in a Lululemon bag. Would you believe me if I said that her whole deal is even weirder? And they go into some things about her. Michael Wolff's name, who comes up again, who is in those Epstein emails. Michael Wolff's new book about the 2024 election says that Harp is so woefully committed to Trump that she recently spent a summer living in a golf club locker room just to be close to him. That is wild. That is wild. Goes on to say no job is worth doing all that. Yeah, so that's Natalie Harp there. So that's who Marjorie Taylor Greene was responding to in that text message. But again, like I said, even for Marjorie Taylor Greene, this should not be a partisan issue. It's just plain and simple. Now, here's another reason. She goes on to say this and the Epstein files is why I'm being attacked by President Trump. It really makes you wonder what is in those files and who and what country is putting so much pressure on him. I forgive him and I will pray for him to return to his original MAGA promises. Yeah, he's not going to do that. He's bought and captured. And this is what she's talking about. Conservative Review. They're calling her a rhino. Liberty score A, 100%. And of course, here, MAGA, they're referring to Lindsey Graham as MAGA, but he has an F. She has the higher score. She doesn't take money from AIPAC. I believe she did take a little bit back in the past, but she doesn't take money from them anymore. So this is what a lot of this is all about. Same thing with the reason why Donald Trump is coming after Thomas Massie. Similar situation here. You'll also go on to see that she came out against the H-1B visa policy that Donald Trump supports. And this is another reason why I think Donald Trump is attacking her. Listen to this.
My dear fellow Americans, I'm introducing a bill to completely eliminate the H-1B visa program, which has been riddled with fraud and abuse and has been displacing American workers for decades. There will only be one exemption in my bill, and it will allow for a $10,000 per year cap on visas issued to medical professionals like doctors and nurses who provide life-saving care to Americans. However, even this $10,000 per year cap will be phased out over 10 years to allow us time to build our own pipeline of American doctors and physicians.
Notice how she said, my fellow Americans. Yeah, she's going to run. She's going to run, you guys. She's going to run in 2028. That my fellow Americans part. Oh boy, this is going to be interesting.
My bill will also restore the original intent of the visa for it to be temporary. These visas were intended to fulfill a specialty occupational need at a given time. People should not be allowed to come and live here forever. We thank them for their expertise, but we also wish them well so they may return to their home country. My bill will take away the pathway to citizenship, forcing visa holders to return home when their visa expires. In order to build our pipeline of American doctors and medical professionals, my bill will also prohibit Medicare-funded residency programs from admitting non-citizen medical students into their programs. Just last year alone, there were over 9,000 doctors in the U.S. who graduated from medical school but were left without a residency placement. Meanwhile, in 2023 alone, there were over 5,000 foreign-born doctors who received residency spots. This is entirely unfair, and it's America last. My bill will help mitigate the shortage of doctors and nurses in our country, the shortage that we face, while at the same time serve as an off-ramp from our reliance on foreign workers by allowing us time to fill our residency programs with American doctors. Now, this will completely end the H-1B visa program in all other sectors in the job force and in the workforce. This is America first. It's time to put American citizens first instead of foreigners first. And this has gone on, and this has been an abuse for far too long. Americans deserve a future. They deserve a chance. And I believe Americans are the most talented people in the world, the most creative, and I want them to have their American dream. Thank you.
Yeah. Ooh, she's going to run. She's going to run. So I'm pretty sure this pissed off Donald Trump. Here's the thing about the H-1B visas. I've seen it. I worked in a university for over 10 years. And what typically has been happening in certain sectors is that Americans are not, I guess I would say, being prioritized for certain jobs. The tech industry is a big one. She mentioned the medical field. That's another one. So it's been happening for quite some time. These companies feel as though they would rather hire someone that they can pay less. It's a big part of it. And so the H-1B visa applicants, they are offered a lower salary, especially in the tech field. They're typically offered a lower salary than an American worker would be offered for that field. This is capitalism. This is a big part of it. Now, I don't think, is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to push back and say this is a capitalist society? This is what happens with capitalism? No, she's not. But I'm going to go there and let you know this is what happens in a capitalist society. This is the problem. That's what capitalism does. And so no other country does that. No other country prioritizes other workers before their own people. It just doesn't. Right now, as an American, if you wanted to try to get a job in Canada, I can let you know that is not an easy process. It's just not. It's actually very difficult. And what has been happening over the years is that we do have talent here in the States, but again, because we live in a capitalist system, these corporations are going to take the talent that they can pay less. So it's not that we don't have talent here. We do. I've seen it. I've advised some of these students. So that one is going to be, that one's going to be a big one. But if you are MAGA, if you're America first, that would be the America first policy. But Donald Trump supports the H-1B visa process because that's what he promised to the tech industry. He promised this to all those guys over at All In Podcasts, David Sachs and Bill Ackman. And he promised that to his billionaire buddies, that he would back them with what they wanted. And that's what they want. She is now being targeted. She goes on to say, I am now being contacted by private security firms with warnings for my safety as a hotbed of threats against me are being fueled and egged on by the most powerful man in the world. So here we go. The man I supported and helped get elected. Aggressive rhetoric attacking me has historically led to death threats and multiple convictions of men who were radicalized by the same type of rhetoric being directed at me right now. This time, by the President of the United States. As a woman, I take threats from men seriously. Watch, now because she said that, they're going to say, oh, she's far left. I now have a small understanding of the fear and pressure the women who are victims of Jeffrey Epstein and his cabal must feel. As a Republican who overwhelmingly votes for President Trump's bills and agenda, his aggression against me, which also fuels venomous nature of his radical internet trolls, many whom are paid. This is completely shocking to everyone. She's right about the paid accounts on X. My phone is blowing up with constant, amazing support. I'm so thankful. The political industrial complex and the toxic, violent nature of American politics must end. Our country is worth saving, and it can only be done if we pull together and save ourselves. So now her life is in danger because she's going against Donald Trump on few issues. She was on CNN just recently talking about this as well.
I stood with President Trump when virtually no one else did. Campaigned all over the country, spent millions of my own dollars helping him get elected. And I think that's incredibly important. And I do support him and his administration. I support them in delivering the campaign promises we made to the American people. His remarks, of course, have been hurtful. However, I have something in my heart that I think is incredibly important for our country, and that is to end the toxic fighting in politics. And this has been going on for years, and it has divided our country, split up friends and families, neighbors, and it's not solving our problems. The most hurtful thing he said, which is absolutely untrue, is he called me a traitor. And that is so extremely wrong. And those are the types of words used that can radicalize people against me and put my life in danger.
What do you think
That's the cult mentality. You're a traitor now.
happened? What do you think is the reason for this?
Unfortunately, it has all come down to the Epstein files, and that is shocking. And, you know, I stand with these women. I stand with rape victims. I stand with children who are in terrible sex abuse situations. And I stand with survivors of trafficking and those that are trapped in sex trafficking. And I will not apologize for that. I believe the country deserves transparency in these files. And I don't believe that rich, powerful people should be protected if they have done anything wrong. And so I'm standing with the women, and I will continue to do my small part to get the files released.
Marjorie Taylor Greene almost sounds as though she wants to cry there a little bit. It's like you can hear the disappointment in her voice and some surprise there, right? I don't think it's surprising to many of us, because this is how Donald Trump is. You either get in line and go with his agenda, or you're a traitor, and he'll send big money and everyone else that he can after you if you don't. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene's meet me outside moment. About a week ago, I said that Marjorie Taylor Greene needs to take the gloves off and seriously go after Donald Trump. That she needed to take the upper hand here. He did it first. And now she's on the defense. And all I can say is that you cannot, and this is why you cannot put your faith in a politician. And I think a lot of people are disappointed because they put their hope and their trust and their faith in Donald Trump. Like, they believe that he was going to make things better. And I just don't believe these things. Like, I think for me, you know, I've been fooled so many times when it comes to politicians. So I always look at it with a grain of salt. I see politicians as, you know, one tool in a big toolbox that we have, but we also have other tools in that toolbox that we can use, like mutual aid, like direct action, like organizing, worker co-ops, things like that. And I think that ultimately people just pick up that one tool that they trust and they know, and they use that, and they leave all the other tools in the toolbox to rust and fade away. And we have to use those other tools in that toolbox. What was interesting here is that Rokana said, why is Trump inclined to treat Ghislaine Maxwell better than Marjorie Taylor Greene? Woo! That's a good question. Oh my God. I welcome Marjorie Taylor Greene voters into a new populist coalition that is anti-war, anti-corruption, and focused on reducing costs for the working class. Todd Schaefer said here that coalition needs to be completely separate from both corporate parties. Otherwise, we will get more of the same. I agree. And this is why, you know, we've seen this, guys, right? Like, people trying to work within these parties. But like I said, if you don't toe the party line, they'll find ways to get rid of you. It's not just under Donald Trump. Look, they did this to Dennis Kucinich in the Democratic Party. That's why he's no longer in Congress, because he didn't want to toe the Democratic Party line. And he was the progressive before we had the squad. Because he didn't want to do that, the Democratic Party decided to redraw his district so that he didn't have one. That's how they got him out. So this has been going on for quite some time, but there does need to be a change. She has an update here. She said, good morning. I want to thank everyone who texted and posted and commented support for me. You all are so kind, and I appreciate, love, and support you too. I never thought fighting to release the Epstein files, defending women who were victims of sexual assault, and fighting to expose the web of rich, powerful elites would have caused this, but here we are. And it truly speaks for itself. There needs to be a new way forward. The toxic political industrial complex thrives on ripping us all apart, but never delivers anything good for the American people whom I love. The PIC tells us to hate each other, fundraises off of why we have to hate each other, and pits Americans against each other to the point of violence and nearing civil war. This is all wrong. We can have our own differences and differing opinions, but we can still love and respect one another. We have far more in common than we have apart. I believe in American people more than I believe in any leader or political party. And the American people deserve so much better than how they have been treated by both sides of the aisle. The way forward is America first, America only. And that may be the most dangerous pursuit of all. Yeah, guys, she's going to run. She's going to run for president. It is just, this is wild. And I guess we'll have to end with this. The Patriot Blonde says, people are posting this all over social media. What a sad end to something we all worked so hard for. I never thought it would end this way. Yeah, I've seen it too. People like saying F this, screw MAGA, that type of thing. And this is what I have to say about this, right? A leader can only take you so far, right? And people see Donald Trump as the leader of the MAGA movement. But at the end of the day, when I look back at movements, you have to realize there was more of a horizontal infrastructure there. And there were a couple of people that were known as like the keynote speakers. Even if you look at the civil rights movement, a lot of times they say that, Martin Luther King was the leader. Martin Luther King was the spokesperson, right? But even the civil rights movement, they had a horizontal organization style there as well, because there were other civil rights activists that were leading the charge in different parts of the country. So when you get into the inner workings of the civil rights movement, it's not as though Martin Luther King Jr. just said, okay, this is my movement, we're going to do all this. He was the spokesperson, and he did lead in some ways, but there were multiple civil rights activists that were doing their own leading as a part of this bigger movement, which eventually led to the March on Washington. So I think it's important that people look into the details about that. If you look at the Black Panthers had that horizontal infrastructure as well. Again, if you look at the Chicago chapter, Fred Hampton was the spokesperson, but they worked together in a horizontal way. And that's really what a lot of mutual aid is about, working together in a horizontal way to give back to the community and help build community as well. I say that to tell you this. At the end of the day, leaders can fail you. Leaders can disappoint you. And that is when you have to look to each other. And I think this whole strategy of putting faith and your hope all into one politician is doomed to fail, and it ends in disappointment. I went through it. I went through it with Obama. I went through it with Bernie in 2016. I wanted Bernie to fight back against the DNC because of the way that they cheated him. But I think at the end of the day, we really have to look to each other. I think this country is long overdue for a movement that embraces the anti-war, anti-corruption movement. Anti-corruption is something I think a lot of people are against. But you can't focus on that as long as you have this party hates you, that party hates you. So as long as people are in these separate teams, you might call out corruption on the other side, but are you going to call out corruption on your side? I've been encouraging people to register as no party affiliate, to register as a no party affiliate voter. I'm registered no party affiliate. And I think that we need a movement. We need a movement outside of electoral politics to break everything you're seeing right now with the Epstein files. They are protecting corruption. Corrupt people corrupt money, corrupt industry. Jeffrey Epstein was an agent, and they're protecting that, and they're protecting Israel too in all of this. So until you go after the corruption, it doesn't matter what party you have. They will all fall to some type of corruption. And in order to go after that corruption, that means you got to confront big money. And you can't just confront big money when someone's in power that you don't like. Has to be confronted on all sides. So it'll be interesting to see where this goes. But I do hope that this is a wake-up call for people that were part of the MAGA movement, that like, you cannot put your hope and faith in a politician. You just can't. And also this cult of Donald Trump. Be very wary of some of these accounts you see online. Guys, a lot of these accounts are paid accounts. I told you about that Gunther Eagleman guy a couple of nights ago. That's a paid account. The guy's paid to just continue posting Trump, 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 Trump. So be wary about that. Organize with people within your community. This is going to be interesting, guys. This is going to be interesting. But as you see, he has already turned on Marjorie Taylor Greene. Hey, guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.